Like showing that you care about their time, to me, it's way more personalized and had that touch, that personal touch, than anything else that you can do for them, like respecting their time and their boundaries there. So how about this idea? What if scaling your business didn't mean scaling your burnout? Today's guest, Jordan Gill, is the founder of Systems Saved Me and the brain behind the wildly successful Done in a Day model and carpool content. She's living proof that building around your life actually works, especially when you ditch bloated timelines, automate it like you mean it, and stop trying to mimic someone else's system. In this episode, Jordan drops the mic on how to create high-impact offers that don't take weeks to deliver, how to find your marketing sweet spot without being everywhere, and how systems, when done right, are actually the most loving thing you can do for your time, energy, and clients. If you've ever felt stuck duct taping your business together from everyone else's blueprint, this one is your permission to build it your way. Efficient, elegant, yours. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatori, and today I have Jordan Gill with me, and I'm so excited for this conversation because she created a business that is so amazingly built to fit her life. And I love that she did that and that she's spreading that way of thinking to other people out there. So welcome, Jordan.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Nata. I'm excited for this conversation.
This should be fun. So before we dive into the questions, I just want to hear a little bit about, did you have a life before entrepreneurship? Was there a corporate Jordan out there that then realized that wasn't for you and somehow ended up in this entrepreneurship life?
Oh, yes. The wild life that we've chosen. So I've been in business 10 years. It'll be 10 years in May. What's funny is I've actually never stepped foot in corporate. So I graduated college and I worked for 2 nonprofits before then actually entering as an employee for an 8-figure online business. So the majority of my career, so to speak, is online business. And so that's an interesting perspective that I have because I never really had to go through. I mean, nonprofits have their own special set of stuff. So I did have the cubicle life, but it was different because we were serving and there was just like different elements to what we were up to. But for me, I don't think I ever have fit the mold. I think my parents always knew that like I was just gonna do my thing and that's Jordan and I say it because literally even when I was being born, TMI, I guess, but being born, I was literally 2 weeks late. And my mom was like, get out. And she was like, we were literally about to induce you. And then you came the night before. And so I was like, I knew from that moment, you are going to be on your own timing. Like, don't tell me when and what I'm going to be doing. And I was like, man, yeah, that's accurate. So it's been that way since birth, as I say. So, but yeah, been in business 10 years. And it's been, for me, it's been one of the only ways I think I could work because I'm really able to center my life as the most important thing, center my health is the most important thing because I struggle with 3 chronic illnesses. So for me, like there is no other option like in my brain because I would deteriorate literally if I had to go work for corporate.
Yeah, it would be hard to find a place that would accommodate, all of that. So I always joke that I was born to work because I was born on Monday at 8 a.m. So I'm like, ready to go to work. So yeah, so we all have our...
on the dot. Our birth can say a lot. Who knew?
So you've built a whole empire, your whole business around the idea that transformation doesn't need to take 12 weeks, right? So what do you think the done in a day model is, why is that so powerful and so underused at the same time?
Oh my gosh, totally. And it's funny because when I first brought up done in a day and VIP days back in 2020, like it was rare to hear about. There definitely were people doing it, but it wasn't a true like option as an offer. And so I was like, I'm gonna put that on the map. So the reason that I think done in a day and VIP days is so important and crucial as an offer is there's definitely a subset of every person's audience that wants the fast lane. Like if you think about even in like the world, you think about like Disney World, for example, there's the regular ticket and then there's the fast pass ticket. Why is there a fast pass ticket? Because people don't want to wait in line. Me, I don't want to wait in line. Uber Eats, right? As small as Uber Eats is, you order something and then there's always a little something at the checkout that says, do you want it 5 minutes faster? People check that. I check that, right? So it's funny because people think, oh, if it's fast, it's not good, right? They have this idea that, speed is actually a show of not caring or that you're going to get less of an experience. And the thing is, for me, like my business is a vehicle for what I want to accomplish in my life. And so time is money for me, for everybody. And so if you're not thinking about, okay, you can still have your retainers, you can still have your memberships, you can still have all of the longer offers, people will absolutely want that too. The power of the VIP day and doing something in just a day really allows for those people who are just like ready to opt in and say yes. And so by not having VIP day, which if it's not your jam, cool. But by not having a VIP day, you definitely are missing out on a way to make a really great cash injection in a small amount of time and get that transformation fast, which again, people are willing to pay a premium for because that's proven across every industry.
Absolutely. And then you have those people like me and you that have velocity as their word of the year and are like fast and furious. And I actually built my offers initially because of the way I like to work, which is very fast and like high volume, high intensity. And then I was like, oh, yeah, not everybody actually can take this. Let me have a couple of options for people that like need to process things a little bit more, and which is completely fine. We're all different and we process information differently. But yes, there are lots of people out there that just really value their time, and why not just block one day to really focus on everything that you need and then get it done and move on from there. So absolutely love that concept. A lot of your background is in systems, but what you really sell to people and offer to people is freedom, right? So what shifted from when you realized that those two things were not mutually exclusive? What was that like? Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, I actually realized like not everybody was a systems person. I think when you just like get similar to you, like you're in your own lane, you go as fast as you want to go and you're just rolling, you have this idea that just like everyone is like you. And then when you like pop out from your like fast lane, you're like, what's going on here? Why is everybody doing everything manually? Why is everyone just like okay with very status quo decisions? And so I wanted to really be able to bring systems to the forefront because, in my opinion, you cannot have a business that is truly giving you the freedom you want if you don't have systems. Like it's not possible. Now, can you have janky systems and still have freedom? Sure. But systems are the foundation if you want that true freedom. Things have to be happening without you in order to be truly free. That doesn't mean that you choose the most expensive software and tools, right? That also doesn't mean you just try and ride the free 99 train, till the cows come home. There's usually a mix. I have a lot of like high-low tools, just like in fashion, there's like high-low fashion. And so finding that combination to where, if I'm willing to pay $30 a month for a tool, but it, takes off 5 hours of work for me a week, my time is definitely more than $30 for 25 hours of work, right? So thinking about it in that way so that it doesn't feel like, okay, I'm just like sending money off to robots. It's truly about, okay, what are the things that you don't actually need to be doing? Like, for example, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't have a calendar scheduler. Like it pains me to my core because what I don't want to do ever in my life is go back and forth about times. Like it just drives me absolutely bananas. And so there's people who are like, but that shows that I care. Like they want the personal touch. Nobody wants the personal touch. Okay.
Not that kind of personal touch, at least.
Well, so it's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And at the same time, personal touch comes from being a great active listener and knowing how to solve their problems, not if you're sending a calendar link or not. Like we have to get out of this mentality that in order for people to think that you care is that they have to physically be doing everything, which I believe women do this to themselves all the time. They put themselves in this idea of like, oh, well, if this individual isn't personally clicking the keys on the keyboard, or if this person isn't, manually doing this stuff, then I don't want it. And it's like, man, like, I don't want that trap for anybody. I want people to actually be able to live their lives, go to their kids' basketball tournaments, go on vacation, go do those things. If I see somebody who is just obsessed, and I'm not saying about work because I also love work, but someone who is just obsessed with the actual physical doing of things constantly, I will never want to work with that person just because that is just a sign of potential burnout. That's a sign of them not thinking efficiently, them not valuing their own time. So then why would I value your time? There's some things there that I just really think have to be worked through, especially for women when it comes to, like, if somebody cares, they will automate it to make sure it happens. Because I'm the most forgetful person on the face of the planet. And so for me, that's the crux, is systems freedom, but also looking at your capacity and showing that care comes from automating, not from you physically having to do everything.
I love that. Yeah. Showing that you care is not going back and forth 30 times and sending a personal email. You can send a personalized email and communication without having to go back and forth and waste that person's time. So I totally agree. There's so much that we can consider when it comes to automation and delegation and things like that, that does value your own time, but also that other person's time. Like, showing that you care about their time, to me, it's way more personalized and had that touch, their personal touch, than anything else that you can do for them, like respecting their time and their boundaries there. So I love that. Let's talk platforms a little bit. So you are somebody who's not chasing that trendy, like, be everywhere strategy. And I love that. Where are the quiet, powerful, maybe platforms that have actually moved the needle for systems to save me?
Yeah. So I think, people know me for Instagram. So that's kind of my loud platform. And my quiet platforms are definitely my, like, speaking, whether it's virtual speaking. So I'm like talking to people's masterminds or memberships. I often get asked to come, like, if they're having a, like, community conference or whatever that isn't, like, outside to the outside world, it's just for their membership or just for their course people. I get asked to do a lot of those talks and then, kind of be able to share my expertise that way. And what's interesting, though, about Instagram that is loud but quiet is that I do a lot of what I deem to be more like authority first stuff on Instagram. So it's, again, less like the trendy stuff. And it's way more like, I want you to think and believe that I'm an authority based on what I'm posting online. And not in the sense of, like, again, shouting numbers and finances, which is fine if that's your thing. It's not necessarily like showing every picture of me on stage ever that I have, but it's more about the positioning that I want to stand on and be remembered by. And again, trends can work for some people, but for me, I would much rather people know me for the content and the depth of what I'm saying versus cutesy stuff, right? And then we've all gone through the cutesy phase. I definitely have as well, but I'm grounded a little bit more now, to where even though Instagram is a loud platform, people will book me for stuff based on the content that I have on my Instagram, because I'm very sure of myself. I'm confident. I know what I'm talking about. And therefore, if you're going to have a systems person, if you're going to have somebody who collaborates 58 times a year, if you're going to have somebody who does certain things, I'm going to be the go-to, just because I've literally been, like, consistently talking about it in a very, like, grounded, not, swayed by everything that's going on in the world all the time way. And that breeds confidence for people who want to book folks.
Yeah. Oh, to be wiser.
I have a very old soul. I'm 35, but I have probably a soul of an 88-year-old.
I love that. No, I definitely identify with, like, not being loud. That is not my thing. I'm more of a quiet, like, I don't need to be loud for you to hear me. I grew up in a very loud family. There is, like, a lot of Italian background. And the way that I found to be heard was not to be louder than everybody else, was to actually, like, literally lower my voice and be the quieter, because then people are like, wait, what did you say? You're actually paying attention. So I am not the kind of person that takes over the room. I am tall, so by what I like it or not, I take, people see me. So I make sure that, I believe you don't have to be the loudest out there and doing all the trendy stuff to be seen and to be heard. And I definitely believe that there's a lot more value on spending your time sharing your expertise and guiding people than anything else that you can do online. So I love that you do that. I want to chat about one of the things that you mentioned a little bit about being on stage. Before we started recording, we were talking about speaking opportunities, and I believe both of us did more than 10 events last year when it comes to being on the stage. And that's one of the things that you kind of like, hey, I've been doing this. I know how to do it. Let me create something for you guys to help you. Here you come again with systems to save us all. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. And what have you seen and learned and created to help everybody that want to be on stages?
Speaking of loud and whatnot, I think that, not even I think that actually, I know because I talk to a lot of event hosts that they aren't necessarily interested in all the big names. Now, if you're talking about the stadiums of people, yes, they care about the big names because they have tickets to sell and it's a completely different business situation. Event hosts of like smaller, business oriented, community oriented events. So I would say, again, definitely under 1,000 people, but even those under 500 attendees, they're not looking for big names necessarily. They are looking for people who are zero risk. Now, they don't say that word, but that's how I interpret it. So that's my word that I'm deducing everything they're saying. And what I mean by that is I want somebody who I trust is going to love and be present in the room. I want somebody who is not going to blast if something goes wrong with my event. They're not going to blast me on social media about it. I am also like, again, people are scouring your socials, your blogs, all of that stuff. And what I'm finding is, again, you can have opinions and you can share those opinions. Just recognize if it's worth potentially not getting booked on stages. And that doesn't mean politically and stuff, but just it means, like, for example, there was actually a gal who I had actually given a keynote spot to for my event. And I go, I don't know, a day or two later to their social media, and they were bashing McDonald's workers for like how they weren't actually working and all this stuff. It just was like honestly really strange. That may seem like, okay, whatever, Jordan, who cares? For me, that's a big deal because I can't imagine any reason that I would ever post anything like that or even have the thought process of what she was sharing with her philosophy around it. And so I immediately removed her as a keynote. It was very hard, but I have to feel like the people on my stage are people who are loving, who care, who are not out here just nitpicking people for the littlest things. Like, and I get that social media feels like, okay, we just share what we want to share and talk about and all that sort of stuff. So be you and recognize that every event host is looking at your social media and they can at any time take away an opportunity because of something that you said. So I think we've gotten away from that a little bit or thinking about that a little bit. Cause I feel like when social media first came out, it was very like, hey, your employers can look at this and, see what you're doing, or other people or colleges or universities, things like that. And now it's just kind of like a heyday. And I'm like, well, it can be a heyday, but also just know that event hosts are looking for zero risk, meaning that you're going to love, you're going to care, you're going to have grace, you're going to be kind. Like those things are the reason that I get booked. It's not because I'm the biggest name. It's not because I'm the best speaker. It's not because of any of those things. It's because they know that I come with grace. I come with kindness. I come with presence. I am going to bring value on the stage as well. Right. So it's kind of encompassing all of that and again, the reason why I think I've had 100% every application I've put in, I've gotten, because I come in with that mindset when I'm answering the questions. It's not Jordan's the coolest, heyday, heyday. It's, okay, I know this from your sales page or from your socials. This is what I'm seeing as what's important to you about the vibe and the connection you want to have at the event. Here's how my topic actually integrates with that. So that's my biggest thing with people is thinking it's I have to have the biggest credentials or I have to have the shiniest speaker reel. No, like I didn't have a speaker page on my website for like the longest time. And I was still able to get booked because I showed that I cared and gave a crap,
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about when you're up on the stage, you don't know who's in the audience. There are so many different people with different opinions and different beliefs in there. So if you're if you're very polarizing and not somebody who is kind and willing to, just be there for the cause, be there for the value that you're actually given, then yeah, that's definitely going to create some friction and potentially have consequences on your opportunities. So I definitely agree on that. This episode is brought to you by my one-on-one Freedom First Leadership Coaching. This is for founders who are still the glue in their company and want to become the calm, precise CEO. Together, we will redesign your role, install clean decision rights, and delegate outcomes with a clear definition of done. You'll leave with a weekly operating cadence, a 90-day plan, and the confidence to scale without being on call to everything. If you want high standards at a human pace, apply now at accidentalceo.co/coaching. That's accidentalceo.co/coaching. Let's talk a little bit about using systems as sales tools. So going back to systems a little bit, not just back-end operations. Can you walk us through a little bit about we talked about visibility a little bit, but like lead generation and client onboarding. How are things like streamlined in your world? Give people an idea what that means.
So let's talk about ManyChat.
Yeah.
Which is weirdly a controversial topic in like some circles, but for me it's essential. And it's honestly the content on my Instagram that does the best. So that doesn't mean you have to do it. But again, thinking of, do I want to physically spend my time sending you a link in a DM? Absolutely not. So help me comment and you'll get the thing. So if you haven't heard of ManyChat, it's where, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, someone comments a word and then they can DM you a link or start a conversation with you. I use this a lot, and it's either for like freebies or it could be for paid offers. Like I've done it for any and all of the above. And I also found that what's interesting, and maybe it's just my world, because I feel like my community and my bubble seems to be very different than everyone else's in terms of right now, everyone is saying, oh, you have to be in your sales process. Like people want to talk to a human, like AI has changed all of that. And so I will try that and be like, hi, like talk to me before. So I did that for my workshop that I was talking about earlier around speaking. I like did a mini chat where I was like, hey, I'll come back and give you the details myself. And so I manually then would send the link and start a conversation. And those were not the people that bought. Those were not the people that bought. So I could either take offense to that and be like, they actually don't want to talk to me, but also they're coming to an event where 2 days I'm going to be talking. Or I could look at it as, again, my people they like efficiency. Like, just give me the thing. I will look at it. And if I want to talk to you, I'll talk to you. If I don't, I'm just going to, plop $3,000 over to you. So understanding your own audience really is what it comes down to from a sales perspective. And then building the systems around that to support you. So for me, I'm okay with removing myself from the sales process because they don't actually want me in the sales process. Like they'll DM me a question maybe, but they don't want to talk to me back and forth. They don't want to, which is great for me too. And it ends up being an alignment. But for me, ManyChat allows me to see who the hand raisers are. So they still get the details, but I'm not going to create a buffer to where then I'm manually having to send the details because it's not necessary for my buyers specifically. So I just have literally an Airtable base that is massive and literally is tracking every comment that people are putting on every post. So I can go and look at who's commented more than 10 on 10 of my posts. And I can either just go start a conversation with them or just be like, what's going on in your world? Like what problems do you need solved? Like what's happening? Versus being like, no one's talking to me. I don't know what anybody needs. Like la la la. It's like, well, I know what my people need because I see what they're raising their hand on every piece of content that I put out there. So it kind of works in two ways, but I also share that to say if ManyChat tanks for you, fine. Like I'm not, no skin off me, So, but really looking at what is working with your sales and not just saying, oh, everybody else is saying everyone wants a human conversation. My people do not. And that's okay. Again, I could take offense to that, but I don't because I'm like, great, this is more efficient anyway. And so look at what those opportunities are for then you to revisit and see what is it actually that my people want, not just what everybody is saying my people want.
Yeah, I love that. And just side note, link DM is another option that does the same thing as ManyChat if you guys want to check it out. But I think the reason why things work this way for you is because you really took your time and put effort into building a community that understands what you do. So if you just went out there and did that, and yeah, maybe you'll fall into that category of people that are like, oh, I don't see any result with that. But like you understand that your people, they get automations, they get systems, and they get that you value not being in your DMs every day, all day long, because that is not important to you and that's not what you value. So to begin with, you're already not attracting those people. So that doesn't fit because you took your time really creating a brand where people understand what you're all about. So I think that is a very important thing to understand before you go out there and say something doesn't work for you. Like, did you create a brand identity and have the audience that actually understands what you do so they will respond to that thing if it makes sense for them? So I just wanted to point that out too, because like it's easier. Yeah. And it's also easier to say, well, that didn't work for me. That's what everybody else is doing. It is another thing that you talk about a lot. Like, why not fall into this trap of just buying into that big system that everybody else uses and not creating something personalized to you? So let's jump into that a little bit. Why is it important to not fall for the everybody's system out there and actually just take the time to create something that matters to you?
Oh my gosh. This is so crucial, and I actually believe a lot of people are too scared to get to know themselves because they're scared that that means things are not going to be typical or normal or regular or what you see out there. And I have been, again, talking about my birth story, I've always been okay with being on my own time, on my own place, doing my own thing. That actually is a superpower. So instead of thinking that, okay, I need to do it the way everybody else is doing it because then I'll fit in and belong and be invited to these cool parties or whatever, it's like, nah, like that doesn't create interest. People actually are curious when things are different. They aren't curious when things are the same. So when it comes to systems and saying, okay, this is how everybody else does it, but looking at, okay, but what version of that could work for me is kind of the question I usually ask myself. So like even an Instagram series that I did recently, most of the Instagram series I was seeing were being done by like influencers. There's not a knock about influencers. But for me, I was like, well, they're doing it because they want more followers. And I want to do a series, but I want it to bring me brand deals. I want it to bring me speaking opportunities. I want it to bring me just different leads, all other things. And so I adjusted my Instagram series for those things. And I got many of those things from just the 31-day Instagram series. So again, it's not boo hoo to everybody doing these things. It's like, what version of this would work for me? And instead of, again, just like nixing things all together, I usually am like trying to basically Jordan code. That's what ChatGPT calls it to me. Jordan code an idea. And then it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like building it this way is way more aligned with my goals and way more likely to work because of the data, right? We love data. The data of things and how I operate and how I best show up. I'm going to build it off of that versus just the typical narrative that's being pushed. I think we need more variety. Like, we're all tired of the same stuff. Like, please, like, add some sparkle or something.
Add some sparkle. I mean, yeah, and absolutely, you cannot do that though unless you take the time to really have some clarity around who you are and what your business is and who it serves. So if you're trying to just patch things together based on other people's systems or platforms or how they do things, that's when you're going to get frustrated. And it's because you have a great understanding of who you are and you're comfortable with it and you want things to fit that filter, like the Jordan code, right? That makes it so clear and easy to create things around that. But if people are not taking the time, and that's what I see with my clients a lot of times, they're just trying to like duct tape things together from different places. And I'm like, no, let's spend some time actually understanding who you are, where you came from, what was your birth story that affects how you work today, right? Like all those things put together, and then understanding how your brand fits into that, how we're going to put it all together, and then create the systems to support you to have some breathing space and to actually talk to the people you want to talk and all that. So very, very important to have that clarity for sure.
Mm-hmm. And who doesn't love a good personality test? If you're like scared to get to know yourself, like start with like the fun stuff. We don't got to go into the deep stuff first off. Like, like do some human design or Myers-Briggs or something just to get loose. And again, it doesn't mean that it has to all line up perfectly at all, but at least like dipping your toe in so that way, because I don't really have decision fatigue because I know myself maybe too well, that like I just, if it automatically doesn't align, like it's just, I don't even think about it, right? So like when you know your identity, like you don't have to think about if something is right for you or not because you know. So for example, like I don't smoke cigarettes. That's just not something I do. If you do, fine, I don't care. When someone asks me, do you want to smoke a cigarette? I don't have to think about that answer. It's not something that is hard for me. It's not something I got to hem and haw for. It's just like, no, thank you. Right. Like, and I just can move on about my life. And so that gives you the peace of mind to know, like, my identity is so strong in who I am that I know if it's a yes or no pretty quickly for most things, just because of how strong I am in my own identity.
Yeah, that's definitely crucial. I want to talk about Airtable a little bit because you mentioned that, and I know you build the entire business that runs on Airtable, which I think it's amazing because I don't know, I watch people work on it. I'm like, that looks amazing, and does not work for my brain at all for some
What
reason.
what are you? Are
I
you a
can't.
Notion person? Are you a ClickUp? What are you?
No, I don't like any of the programs.
Zero.
I
Got it.
use simple, Google workspace stuff. Like, I use my Drive, my Google Docs, my but I can't. I mean, I think they're amazing. And I'm like, that's so great. I can't do that. My brain just doesn't work that way. And I've tried different things to see if it was just like a different program. But anyways, you build a whole system and a whole business around Airtable, which is amazing. How do you see tools like that, whatever the name might be, kind of giving power back to entrepreneurs who naturally are not very techy or like type A or don't fit, into that kind of thinking?
That's a beautiful thing is there's options. Like that's why you don't really see me be like I'm anti Trello or anti ClickUp or any of those things because I'm like that works for somebody. Like it doesn't have to be me. And so like you can test and play around. Like also if you're not a like traditional like task like check the box or that kind of person, I've also seen people who are more like mind map people work really well in like a Miro, so Miro, or a lucid chart or those sorts of things because it is sort of octopusy tentacly where you can like still see all of your tasks, but it's in a way that works best for your brain. And I've realized that there's certain things that I am very mind mappy about, and there's some things that I am very linear about. And so while Airtable is obviously way more linear. It's basically like an interactive spreadsheet for those of you who haven't seen it before. Like there are things like sometimes like content, I think mind map before I think linearly. Linearly. Not sure if that's a word, but we're rolling with it. And so not feeling bad that like it's like, oh well, I don't use the tool. So like Jordan is gonna like bash me or tell me that I'm wrong. And it's like, no, like I genuinely, I don't have a dog in the fight, right? So I love Airtable because it works for my brain. And so therefore I share Airtable stuff for those people who also brains are very similar in that way. And then there's also people who are like, but can you make it in Notion or can you make it in whatever? My brain can't go to Notion. Like it doesn't like it truly like breaks. So, like that's a wild one. Like your brain, you have to be so creative systematically to do Notion, which is a beautiful thing. And people who can do Notion, I like love watching them. And so it's okay also to stay in your lane, right? Versus feeling like you have to make something that fits everybody's preferences. And that's another way you can, move into burnout. So for me, Airtable works. It's my like one source of truth for everything. So I know where everything is. I don't have to check a bunch of places. So it works for me. And, it's just a matter of finding what works for you as well. If you don't have a team, like I also am like, if pen and paper works for you, pen and paper works for you. If you have a team, pen and paper is a little difficult because people aren't in your sphere. But I also am not like opposed to people working with notebooks and things like that if that's really what works for them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm somebody who helps people build systems and SOPs and, making sure that they have a good support for their business. So I work with people that use all these systems and, so I try to keep it simple in a way that they can grab the information that we put on together from a nice Google spreadsheet and then they put it anywhere they want to make sense for their brain. So I stay in the simple format and then they can take it away and put it on their Airtable or put it in their Notion or whatever it is. But just because you're not using the big name, programs and systems out there, it doesn't mean that you cannot use systems to support your business. So don't think that. That's why I wanted to have this conversation because I'm somebody who doesn't, and I'm very successful, and I help people in many industries do exactly that and use those systems. So I just wanted to have that conversation too. So one more thing, you hosted retreats, launch SaaS products, and build scalable programs without doing all at once because you do value, focusing on your time and your family and your health. So how do you decide kind of what season of growth you're in and what gets your full focus?
For me, it definitely is goals. And so when I was entering my done in a day era, which was the name of my group coaching program, I intentionally knew that it was going to test the boundaries of my capacity. And it most certainly did because for what is it, 2.5 years, I had like 500, it was 550 clients. Definitely expanded quite a bit. Obviously, I had a team at that time, but at the end of those 2.5 years, I recognized there was a pivot point for me where I just let go of a coach who wasn't upholding our routines and policies. And so at that point, I had to hire another coach. And I actually just like sat there for a minute because at that point, I had like hired and trained 9 coaches over 2.5 years. And I was like, I could hire another coach and just ramp things back up again, or I could not. And again, people are too scared to sit there in that moment with themselves. They're just like, okay, well, I just got to hire another coach and then I got to go and do this and got to go do that. And in that moment, I would do anything except for hire another coach. Like it was a very loud, like when I sat down by myself and let myself feel truly how I was feeling, I would do anything but hire another coach. Like it was very loud. And so I didn't. And that's when, my capacity had changed as well and different things had been going on. So at around that same time, I actually got full custody of my bonus son. So I was going to have to be way more present as a motherly figure. So there was just a lot of things going on at that time that probably also were contributing to that conversation in my brain. And also thinking of, again, my capacity from then has just gotten less and less and less and less over time. Just because now my bonus son is at a school that's 45 minutes away. I'm spending sometimes 3 hours, upwards of 7 hours in the car a day. And that is just such a puzzle for me because I'm somebody who likes to sit at my computer for 6 hours and like focus. I like no distractions. I don't like to like pop in and out of my workday very often. And life has chosen a different path for me. So now I am popping out. So it's like, okay, if that's how I used to like to work, I'm having to adjust. How do I make that work for me now? Like Wednesdays and Thursdays, like I am not doing much because basically from 1:30 until 8:30, I'm in the car, moving him for an hour here, moving him from an hour there. Like just, it's a lot. So I have these bursts of like 30 to 45 minutes that I can get a little bit of work done on my laptop or my phone. And that's all I get because I'm moving around so much. So that's where building a micro tool or a mini SaaS has really benefited me because it is something people can use. They don't bother me about it. It works. They like do their own thing. I have a customer support bot within the actual tool. So like I am unbothered and it's wonderful. And it allows me to just focus on the marketing in my very short hours of the day, which marketing I can do in short bursts. So looking at the capacity and not saying, oh, my life has changed. Like I'm so mad, blah, blah, blah. You can stay in that zone, I guess. But Instead, you can actually get innovative and get creative and be like, oh, okay, business model shifts need to happen or changes need to happen. And it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you should go back to corporate. It doesn't mean any of those things. It usually just means, okay, we got to get creative and innovative. Let me sit down in the quietness and say, okay, what are the offers that fit what I want to do? What are the tasks that I can do in these short amounts of time? And then how do I make that pivot and how do I make that switch?
Beautiful. You can whine for 5 minutes and then move on to the solution.
Exactly. Give yourself some time to be upset and then move on.
Yeah, I mean, adapting. And a lot of us talk about building businesses around our life, but sometimes it's not until life actually forces us to do it for real that we realize how much we don't really do that. And we just say we do that. So you're actually having to change the way you work and how you work and all that because life changed is very revealing, right? Cool. It's time for a podcast tradition. I'm going to pull a random card from my lovely deck here and ask you. And this is, I don't know, or Jordan knows this question. So here it goes. What do you think your 80-year-old self would think about the person you are today? Oh, this is a good one.
Oh my gosh. So my physical age has matched my soul, which is very exciting. So that's my first thought. It's like, oh yes, this is the life I've meant to be living. I think 80-year-old self will actually be really proud of me, honestly. And that's not just me saying that. Like I think that I've taken risks, I've tried things, I've had fun. I definitely have given myself a lot of different opportunities and created a lot of opportunities for myself. And so at 80, I think I can look back and just be like, I didn't live a kind of slow, sad life. I lived a very vibrant, active, exciting life. And not in the terms of like I'm skydiving, but just exciting in terms of, because I don't do that, like exciting in sense of, I say yes to things that feel good to me in the moment or that align with what I'm wanting to do in the moment. And instead of being like, well, I'm too young or I'm not cool enough or I'm not whatever enough, it's like, I don't let those things hold me back anymore. And so I think 80-year-old Jordan would be pretty dang proud.
So good. Was 80-year-old Jordan bossy?
At that point, probably. But I'm just looking forward to drinking sweet tea on the porch and yelling at the neighborhood kids. That really is going to be fun.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Where can people find you if they want to work together?
Yeah, so I am at Systems Saved Me pretty much everywhere. So podcast, obviously, if you listen on Instagram, and then systemsaveme.com is my main website hub, and you can see what different offers and things are there for you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and sharing your knowledge about really building a business around your life that supports you and, being different, which is completely fine. So thanks for being with me today.
Yes. Thanks, Nata. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatori, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.